Welcome to The Devil in the White City, the true story of one of America's first and most notorious serial killers, Henry Howard Holmes. In this episode, we'll uncover the dark and twisted life of a man who used charm, deception, and a labyrinthine murder castle to commit unspeakable horrors. But before we delve into his reign of terror, let's explore the making of a monster. Herman Webster Mudgett, who would later become known as Henry Howard Holmes, was born on May 16, 1861, in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. From a young age, Herman exhibited signs of what would become his sinister nature. Despite his troubled childhood, Herman pursued an education. He attended the University of Michigan Medical School, where his interest in anatomy grew. However, it wasn't long before his darker impulses began to surface. At medical school, Herman was suspected of stealing cadavers and using them for insurance fraud. This was his first foray into a life of crime, blending his medical knowledge with a growing penchant for deceit and murder. After graduating, Herman adopted the name Dr. Henry Howard Holmes and moved to Chicago. It was here that he would begin his transformation into one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. With a new identity and a fresh start, Holmes's charm and charisma allowed him to establish himself in Chicago. He purchased a pharmacy and began construction on what would become his infamous murder castle. Designed with a labyrinthine structure, the building featured hidden passageways, soundproof rooms, and deadly traps. Each floor served a different purpose, all geared toward Holmes's sinister plans. To maintain secrecy, Holmes constantly changed contractors and construction crews, ensuring no one knew the building's true purpose. His charm and cunning allowed him to manipulate everyone around him. Holmes used a variety of deceptive tactics to lure victims into his castle. He placed ads in newspapers offering employment, lodging, and even marriage proposals to unsuspecting women. One of Holmes's early victims was Julia Smythe, a woman who worked in his pharmacy. She and her daughter Pearl disappeared without a trace after becoming entangled in Holmes's web of deceit. Holmes's charm and intelligence made him exceptionally dangerous. He was able to mask his true intentions behind a facade of respectability and trustworthiness. Holmes meticulously planned every detail of the murder castle. The ground floor housed shops, the second floor contained his offices and personal quarters, and the third floor had a maze of rooms where he would imprison and eventually murder his victims. Holmes's castle was filled with a variety of traps designed to disorient, imprison, and kill his victims. The building contained secret passages, hidden rooms, and soundproof chambers. His medical background allowed him to experiment on his victims, adding another layer of horror to his crimes. As the 1893 World's Fair approached, Holmes saw an opportunity to attract even more victims. The influx of visitors to Chicago provided him with a steady stream of potential prey. Holmes's charm and wit allowed him to ingratiate himself with wealthy and influential figures, further masking his true nature. He used his connections to continue his criminal activities without suspicion. Holmes's crimes eventually caught up with him when he was arrested for insurance fraud. The investigation into his activities led to the discovery of his murder castle and the horrors within. Holmes was tried and convicted for the murder of his business partner, Benjamin Pitezel. However, it was the subsequent investigation that revealed the full extent of his crimes. Holmes confessed to 27 murders, although some estimates suggest the true number of his victims could be as high as 200. On May 7, 1896, H. Holmes was executed by hanging. The story of Henry Howard Holmes serves as a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that can lurk behind a charming facade. His legacy as one of America's first serial killers continues to fascinate and horrify to this day. The tale of Henry Howard Holmes and his murder castle is one that blurs the line between myth and reality. As the echoes of his crimes reverberate through history, we are left to ponder the true extent of his evil. Was Holmes merely a product of his time, or a glimpse into the darker corners of the human psyche? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the macabre. Remember, some secrets are best left buried.